again, open for suggestions is, I think roll call, I don't think we need to do an official roll call. I think we had everyone on besides Brad, we kind of established. So obviously we'll call the meeting to order here. This is a kind of a continuation of some of the joint golf advisory board and Parks and Rec items. I think tonight we'll go through a bunch of stuff, and from there, I feel that I think the Parks and Rec Commission kind of will, I think we've, vetted ourselves a little more deeply than maybe prior years for, digging into the golf course. So we're glad to help out, but I think for joint commissions, I think tonight will probably be the last meeting. I'm guessing we'll see what, the commission members decide, but where we, dig into this level of detail. So I think it's good that we've done it. I think it'll help the town, but I think it'll go to the golf course staff to, take some of the actions if we come up with them, and maybe the GAB combination. So, and I'm willing to help out, personally, individually, but I think as our commission, we're probably starting to get a little in over our head. So my thought is, from the agenda that Mark sent out, we would start off with his positions and comments. I would open up to Mark to see if there's any, and then Mark, if there's anyone on the phone that has any comments, we could obviously let them say their piece here. I don't know if there is anyone directly on this call. Another option too for folks is, there was an agenda sent out. We are going to go over some high value actions. If there's someone from the public that wants to address a item after we discuss it, they are welcome to kind of speak a little bit about that. If that does occur, Mark, and you do get a hand or want to promote someone, I ask they keep that topic at that point, go just to that item we talked about, not generally. I'd ask the general ones come kind of up front here, and we'll go through that. So any questions on that logistics?
Mike, sorry to interrupt. I had reached out to Chelsea Systems, the reservation system, last week, and got confirmation today that someone is available on this call. Now, I know there's a couple of things to discuss surrounding, and there's been questions about the reservation system. So if it's okay with you, so that we don't keep her on the line, I'm going to call her. She's actually traveling to Atlanta, and she gave me her cell phone number, just so that maybe she could talk a little bit about some of the things, provide some more detailed information about some of the things that have some of the ideas that have been tossed around.
Okay.
All right.
So are we ready? Do we feel as the commissions we're ready to go into that level of deep dive? Mark, you have it from the action list, some of the things that were on there. Is she going to talk to what the system can do, or what, just so they're not like trying to, I wasn't expecting to deep dive into one of the systems we had today as part of tonight's agenda, but I don't know what other people's thoughts were. So I'll kind of open it up maybe before you give her a call to everyone else on the call.
Okay. I mean, there was a couple of items on the agenda for this evening: the tea time booking practices and the no-show policy implementation. She might be able to provide some insight into those things. And there's also been the discussion about, no-show, charging for no-shows and things like that. So
maybe we start with the CIP proposal. If she's not, is she available?
Yeah, I was just going to give her a call now.
Go for it.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't want to spend, I don't think it's in our best interest to spend 45 minutes tonight talking about the system and what it can do. I think that needs to be a sidebar meeting.
Okay.
But
right.
Mike, I think it's important in terms of making sure that we don't step aside of the tea time booking practices and the no-show, things that we want to be able to do that are low hanging fruit that may or may not be possible. So we need at least that.
I think that's good. I just wanted to set patient of if this is truly like a lunch and learn demo on the system. I think that
No.
That would be, that might be needed, but I think that's not the point of tonight. So I'm good. If you want to start there, or if you want to start with the CIPs, I'll let you guys choose. Whatever, take it away.
No. And we're waiting for her to join.
Like, I had my hand raised about the minutes
Yes.
of our
We
last
do have an
meeting.
agenda.
Well, it's not on the agenda.
Yeah, Elizabeth, I don't see the review of the meeting minutes on it.
And we don't have to stop to do that because, I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. I omitted the vote about the tea times. And I didn't want people to think
There you do.
that got lost. I will correct the minutes and resubmit them.
Okay.
While we're waiting for her to join, do we know if do we know when, Margaret, do we have a date for when all the stuff last time is going to present to the town council for rates and stuff like that?
Mark, the date is in February or in March? For presenting to the town council.
It's going to be presented on the 25th of February.
That gets us out of the Robert's Rules of Order training.
Oh, is that the same night?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought
no,
it was
it's
the
27th, I
27th.
think.
Is it the
Yeah.
Sorry,
27th?
Margaret.
Yeah.
Still have to go.
Regardless,
All
I'm
right.
in Philadelphia
So,
that week. So.
I have Teresa from Chelsea Systems on the line. So Teresa, some of the questions that have or the ideas that have been thrown around is our tea time booking practices, and I wondered if you could briefly speak to what the capabilities are of the Chelsea system and what you feel we ought to be doing. I know you had talked a little bit to me about a weighted weighted lottery, yes, and that would help address the fact that we're not capturing a good number of the people that are playing, and as you pointed out, that's actually a liability issue, and so perhaps you could talk about that. And there's been discussion amongst the different groups that are here now about a no-show policy. And how will you go about charging? And there's also been discussion about charging, online, when someone registers online, capturing that information. And I know you've got some thoughts about that.
Okay. Well, let's start with that, kind of put a pin in that one for the moment. So we do not do taking charges up front when somebody makes a reservation. And here's the reason why we never continue through with it is because once you purchase a tea time online, you can no longer move that time to a different time because the prices may be different. You cannot increase or decrease players because they've already been paid for. So now all of the movement or any movement at all, including cancellations, have to be done by the pro shop. Because just when you buy something online, if you buy something at Macy's online, you cannot go online and return it and get your money back. You have to send it back in or take it to the store. So it's the same process. Once a charge has been done, that tea time is frozen in time. So if you booked as a twosome and you wanted to add 2 other players, you could book in the other slots and pay for them separately. But you can never increase or decrease your team to 1, or if you pay for 4, you can't decrease it to 3 without contacting the pro shop. So because my client base do not want all those phone calls into the pro shop, they do not, or we do not take anything online when a tea time is made. And we are not going to be doing that because I don't have the client base that requires it. Can they hear me?
Yes.
I think so. I haven't heard anybody say they couldn't.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we
So,
can hear you. I think I do have a question on
Any
that. So
questions
do you,
about that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there is
so- can you hear us? Like, are we clear?
Yeah, can you hear them, or maybe I need to repeat it?
Yeah, you'll need to repeat it because I can hear them, but not really.
Okay.
I think the question I would have, and maybe other people who are in the same, is like, I think the key takeaway got is they don't take payment online. Maybe do they take payment information but not process it, and or how do the other clients deal with, I'll say like an imposed late figure? Like how do they logistically deal with it if they don't take the payment up front?
I don't really know how they handle it internally, to be honest, because they don't call and say, hey, this is how we do things. The majority of my clubs, and when I'm going to say the majority, like 99%, 92% of my clubs are lottery-based clubs. So, and they are general public clubs. So, for example, we do on Cape Cod, Captain's and Cranberry and Town of Dennis. They're all big municipals. So what they do, they up their memberships so that people will buy a membership that includes a lottery. So basically you're paying up front, or you're paying a portion of it up front, and then they charge you a lower rate. And general public are, I don't want to say a sidebar, but a sidebar to them. I don't have any club that I'm aware of that is strictly 100% general public, where they don't sell any kind of pass or they don't give any kind of discounts. So I don't really know how they handle no-shows on their general publics. I do know that when you go to a lottery, so here are the benefits of going to a lottery. Let's talk about that first, and we'll kind of backtrack. So when you're a first come first serve system, you're tied to a clock, right? You're tied to a clock, and I'm just giving an example of times of days. You're tied to a clock 7 days out at 7 a.m. You have to be up, and then it's a free for all to try to get a tea time. And when you go to a lottery, there is no clock. Your only clock would be midnight to night. Excuse me, guys, I'm battling a cold. It would be midnight tonight for what's going to draw tonight. So let's say you draw 7 days out, or you can book 7 days out. So that means at midnight tonight, if I want to play for next Tuesday, I'll have my request in for next Tuesday. And then the lottery runs, and it assigns everyone tea time, and it creates an overflow if it didn't assign a time. And then everybody gets an email telling them what times they received. So besides the benefit of a clock, you can link teams together. So if I have a ladies group that I like to play with, and I want 4 tea times, I can put a request in for 4 tea times. And so I have all 16 players all together, and then the lottery places them in consecutive times. I also have the option to break a link. So that means if it can't find me 4 consecutive times, ultimately we just all want to play. So it breaks a link and places everybody where it can. You also have reoccurring requests. So we are really, really big in the snowbird area. So like on Cape Cod, everybody down in Cape Cod is in Florida right now, which is our home base. And we're really big out west, Arizona and Nevada and Florida. So if I come to Florida from up north, and I'm a creature of habit, I'm going to be down here for 4 months, maybe 5, and I want to play every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday if I can. So I can go put in 1 request for Monday, 1 for Wednesday, and 1 for Saturday for the next 4 months in 1 sweep, and then just sit back every week and wait to see if I received a tea time when I'm playing. So there's a lot of benefits of doing the lottery. Even if you don't do a weighted lottery, you could start with a random lottery. So just kind of like on TV, we take all the requests, we shake them all up, and then we just pull one out of a hat and they go first, and everyone filters in. However, when you do a weighted lottery, then you can penalize people for no showing. So every time you play, you acquire some kind of point value set by the club. So they can play, if you play in a prime time, you can have a higher point value than somebody's playing at, in the afternoon, and then a lower point value at twilight, for example. So every time you play, you acquire a point. When you acquire points, the lowest points go first. So if you penalize someone for no showing and you double up their points, you're hurting them in the lottery, and they're not going to do the no shows because they know they're going to get the extra points, and that's going to affect them trying to get a prime time. So you can have more control over the tee sheet if you do a weighted lottery, and it gives a more equitable and fair distribution of tee times, so the same teams aren't always in those prime times. Everyone's got a shot based on the team average, so it works as a team average. So if I'm a foursome, it takes the points of all 4 players, adds them together, and divides by 4. That becomes my team average. And then it places them lowest team average to highest team average. So the people that play the least often get their tee time first, and then everybody filters in underneath. So that's how a basic lottery runs. So there's a lot of advantages of going to a lottery, and it's already built into your system. So there's no increase in price. It's just turned off right now, and you're just using it as a first come, first serve. So there's no pricing change. You have the benefit of not being on a clock. You can link teams together so you can want to play in groups. You can plan your schedule and place, your request out there 30 days or 60 days in advance and let them roll in every week. And then as far as the pro shop goes, then they have more control over people who are no showing. You can place all member teams. So when I say members, I'm going to call you pass holders. So if you're a pass holder, we can place the pass holders on the tee sheet first, and then general public, true walk-in off the street, or just, I'm in town, I'm going to play, or I only play every once in a while, then they book in after the fact. So they're getting whatever times are left over.
Hey, this is Jim, Mike, Mark, Margaret. I use that full system down here in Florida. So rather than you guys trying to figure it all out, when I get back, I can take you through the whole thing, the request and filling up the tee sheet. We have a points-based random system down here. It's really not that complicated. I also have the instruction manual too, so we can go through all that.
Teresa, this is Todd. We have 5 sizable groups that have blocks of times during the week. Am I able to do that under a lottery system?
Well, most of the time that clubs are coming to me for the lottery, and then I'm including general public courses in this, is because they don't want to block off for groups anymore. So we've had Erie County up in New York, City of Niagara, and Deerwood, Deerfield, up in upstate New York for about 20 years. With the exception of Niagara, they've all gone to a lottery in the last 3 or 4 years because one of the courses had a men's group that would take up maybe 10 or 12 tee times on a Saturday morning, and then end up playing with half of the amount of times because not all the guys showed up. So they developed a reputation in the area about no one being able to get on the golf course because the men's group took the times up every Saturday. So they took all of that away, and they said, you can put in your linked groups and you'll go through the lottery with everyone else. So it's up to you. If you want to put the groups on there, then everybody else places around them. If you want to make the groups go through the lottery and make it fair for everyone, then they go through the draw like everyone else. It's really up to you.
Okay, so I can put the groups in.
Teresa, one of the things
okay.
that you mentioned to me about the weighted lottery is we get away from simply recording the person that makes the reservation, because if you just enter guest as the other part of the foursome, that you get
the lower ranking.
right. Yeah. So it gets to where we're actually recording who's playing out on the course. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
if you and I and Todd are pass holders and we're playing together, all 3 of us are required to be on the request. Now I can make the request and put the 2 of you on there with me, or vice versa. You can only be on 1 request per day. So if I put the request in and Todd didn't see his email and he went to try to put a request in himself, it'll tell him he's already on a duplicate, and he can go to review his request and he can see his request. So everybody that is on the card gets an email. So if I make it, both of you get an email telling you the date that I put in the request for and what time that I requested. And then the same thing is when the lottery runs, then everyone gets an email at what time that they got, or if they went to overflow.
So that would just require us to have an accurate database of.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I'm not hearing any or seeing any raised hands.
So I have a question, sorry.
Oops, okay.
Thank you. And I think Mike does too. So for the lottery, which I think actually sounds interesting, would you be able to include, or how would you go about weighting any kind of non-pass holder who signed up for the lottery for the same period of time before it was
Well, a
run?
non-pass holder, what I'm going to be calling a general public,
Yep.
just somebody that they can't go through the lottery. So
Okay.
they're going to come in after the fact. So you as a pass holder, myself, Todd, Mark as pass holders, we're going to go through the lottery first, get the tee times, and then the tee sheet will open up for everyone else.
Okay. And can those time blocks for the lottery, is it just for the day, or can I specify like 7 to 11 or
Yes.
11
You
to
could if you
5?
want, but generally it just runs it for all day, and then whatever it doesn't fill up, those times are left over, and anyone can book in after the fact. And
Okay.
if you get a tee time after the fact, you can swap out your players. You can move yourself to another time if it became available because you're already on the sheet, so it's a quick move. Or
Okay.
you can delete your booking altogether if you choose to cancel. So as a member, you have full control over your tee time. You have control over the request, and then once the lottery runs and you're on the sheet, then just like you have now, you just go to add, edit, delete a player, or change time, or delete a booking, same thing.
And then this would, just last question, and then I'll let Mike go. This would also require that everybody who came to play would need to check in, because if you don't check in, then you get basically double pointed.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a couple quick points on it. Maybe it'll lead to a question here. Is that I think the only drawback I see to it though is, well, one positive would be that in terms of the points and keeping track of people that are not fulfilling their tee times, and just not canceling or whatever, and then the open time, especially at a prime time, is left open. That's really bad. So that's a good feature. That addresses that concern we have. Um, the other thing is that I think, which I think will go over well with the season pass holders, right? Because they are, in essence, the most loyal to the support of the club, of the course. Is that they get what they would get one? It can be made so they get it, a day earlier, so they could enter the lottery a day earlier.
Doesn't even matter anymore.
Well, no. So let's say, for example, the lottery runs 7 days out.
Right.
So, and you can have memberships that can go through the lottery, and then you can have memberships that don't go through the lottery. So the ones that don't go through the lottery, they're just getting leftover times when the sheet opens up after the lottery.
Right. Okay.
So as a pass holder, you'd be putting your request in up to 30 days in advance. So if you're a creature of habit, you can sit there today and put your schedule in for the next 3 weeks out and just sit back and wait to see what tee time you've got.
But here's the
Yeah.
problem with that, in my experience using it for years, is it's good for retirees like me that have kind of an open day. I could go into the lottery and, I'm thinking I'm going to get one at 10 a.m. and I get it at 7 a.m. or I get it at 1 p.m. or 2 or 3 p.m.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
rough.
have a flexible schedule. For most people that would go into the request, or a lot of people that would go into the request, they're working. They want a specific time, and you're not going to get that through the lottery. That's
that's
why.
what I was.
Well, neither are you. Neither are you always going to get that if you're in the dogfight as a first come first serve.
Right.
When you're making
And
a
so-
lottery
so,
request,
yeah,
are you using Chelsea at your club?
Yes. Yep.
Which club? Do you mind me asking?
It's Heritage Landing in Punta Gorda, and we use the
Oh,
weighted.
Randy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Randy.
So you
Yep.
guys
So
you're like, this is your second or third year in.
yeah. So what I find is that I don't use the request because I'd rather take my chances and wait until the requests are all filled, and then I'll just go on the tee sheet and find a time that's generally okay with me. So I can kind of pick
Yeah.
and choose the tee time.
And you can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I was going to make a similar point too, because, for me, I got I got flexibility in my schedule like Jim. Having said that, you do want to try to play during a
Right.
certain time frame so that, within a block. I mean, for me, it would be like, okay, anywhere from 7:30 to 9:30. If I get in there, I'm fine. Because you don't want to tie up the whole day. And then you got younger guys or women, right, that they have kids and sports and things like that in the afternoon, and they've got to get in at a certain time or else they're
Yeah.
out. So I think, yes,
But
it is true what you mentioned.
But when you make when you make a request, and I don't know if Randy has this on or off, but when you make a request, you have three options if the club has them turned on. You have a requested time, the time that you'd like. So I can say something like this: I
Right.
want to play at 8:00. I'll play as early as 7:30, and I
Right.
don't want to play any earlier than 9:30. So if it can't find you in that block and that's all you want, then you're out. You're on overflow. And if you
Right.
choose to
And
go
that's
in and see something
yeah.
opens up over the course of time, then you can.
Yeah,
Right.
he has that turned on. And the problem becomes if you're a frequent player, which most of our members, pass holders are, you're not going to get the time you want. Okay, because
Well, no,
you're
because
low on the list.
you're a free for all with everybody else that's a frequent player, which is where the points come into play.
Right. So if
But-
you're a frequent player, you never get your time you want. Okay.
But I think today, that's one of the benefits or things that people really love is having a season pass. They get in a day earlier than the public, and they could get a tee time that is within reason in terms of the time that they want to play.
Yeah, you won't get that with the request if you play a lot. Yep.
You won't
That's
get
why I
it.
generally don't use it because I play a lot.
Well, it depends on who you play with.
Yeah.
If I play with the same group of women 6 days a week, I'm not going to get a prime time all the time because I play 6 days a
No.
week, and so do
Right.
they. So
Yeah.
it takes a team average. So it depends on who you play with. If you have two of your players that are frequent players and two of your players that are non-frequent players, then you'd probably come out in the middle of the row. If all four of you are frequent players, and then you have another 50 people trying to get on the tee sheet that are also all frequent players, then that's where the points come into play. So it says,
And then
okay, out of
you
these
get
50 groups,
cheaters. You get
Do what?
cheaters.
Do
They
what?
put guys that don't play much and then they swap them out. It gets really ugly. Yeah.
I
then you
think with the
suspend the people that don't play. I mean, there's ways around it. Randy's not using them, but the
Yeah.
lottery is a better bet than getting up at 7 in the morning for me, because for me, and again, there's no price increase, so it doesn't make a difference to me whether you go to lottery or not. It's already in your system. But I work. I don't want to have to get up at any time and fight for anything at 7 in the morning.
Right.
Right. Well, with the current
So
system we have,
unless I am retired, I'm at a disadvantage in a first come first serve system. So go into, even if you don't do weighted lottery, if you want to do a random lottery and you want to people no show 3 times and suspend them for 2 weeks if you don't want to do the points. Either way, in my opinion, a lottery is better than getting up and being tied to a clock.
and the way it happens today, right, is we're a day ahead of the public. At 6 p.m. sharp, you go in and it's first come, first serve. But even though you want to play at 8, when you go in right at 6, you might not get 8, but you probably will get 8:20, or you might get 7:40, but you'll get somewhere pretty close if you jump right in there. You got to jump right in and grab a time quick and go with it. And sometimes you can't get the exact time that you want, but you're going to get something within reason. And I'm here to listen and learn as well. I'm just trying to voice what I know would be a concern of the people that are currently, using the system. And again, the advantages, right, are the things that you mentioned about the accountability I love, because I think that's great, because that will help us in terms of revenue, not having open times during prime time. But I'm worried about this piece of it.
So, sorry, Mike, I'm just gonna ask a question real quick. So
Sure.
at 6 PM, when you go in now, you will be required to enter the name of all 4 people in your
Right.
group.
Right. Which I think's okay. That's fine.
So that's gonna slow you down a little bit.
Yeah, but at
Well,
least
also,
when you
it won't
click
be at
in,
6 PM. That goes away. There's no 6
Right,
PM
right,
time
right.
frame on
Yeah,
it
with the
anymore.
lottery, no, I'm talking about under the current scenario.
yeah,
With
current
the
Oh.
system,
lottery, this all becomes so much easier. You put your name in anytime. And, you don't have to worry about a 6 PM call.
That's
No.
true, Margaret, but nobody's happy with their tea times.
Well, nobody's happy with their tea times right now. That's one of our
Well,
biggest,
I think a
pieces
lot
of feedback at the moment is that people cannot get tea times.
members are happy.
Can I just ask a question? My hand's been up.
They get the
Um,
date.
Would the, you can hear me.
Well,
With
the
this
people-
lottery system, would the pro shop be able to do shotguns? And also what
Yes.
about the like the colleges and the high schools that play in the afternoon? Could time be dedicated to some of our support of the community, the younger players who play in afternoons?
Yes.
during-
Yes. They can be their own membership type and book in, or talk and block times for them either way.
Mike, is your hand still up or Surya?
no, I'm sorry. I'll take it down. I'm good. Sorry about that.
And then Teresa, just remind me again, the percentage of the clubs that you're working with right now that are using the lottery system versus the tea time?
99, 92, 99, 98% of my clubs are lottery based. I only have, out of our inventory of over 600 clubs, I have 2, maybe 5, less than 10, if I even have 10. And they're privately owned public golf courses, with the exception of like 1. You guys are in Connecticut, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Gaynor Brennan uses Chelsea, and they do a lottery. They're a public golf course. Vance is the pro over there.
So do we feel like we're good with Therese?
No questions?
The other thing I had, and I don't know, Margaret, if you answer this or if we need to answer it, one of the things we're talking about was, collecting more data per players. We're talking here about a little bit about, implementing a lottery, implementing a late fee, whatever it may be. Do we have the ability to customize, I'll call it fields per person, to collect data from them? So maybe we want to maybe we don't collect their phone number today, we want to in the future. Maybe we want to put a field that's called a demarks field where, like, the pro might, if they miss the one, they'd put a little, black star or something like that in there where, we can manage it policy wise, however we want. But do we have ability to customize the fields per person to collect data as required, either from the person or from someone in the pro shop to denote?
Well, so let me answer one part of it. If somebody doesn't show up, it'll be demarked that they didn't check in. It's kind of the flip flop of it. But I think the other question is for Teresa, if there's the ability to customize the fields.
The general public fields that are captured are just name, phone number. Their phone number becomes their member number and their email address.
Okay.
We don't capture any addresses or anything like that on the general public field. If you're buying a pass, the staff has, when your profile pops up, they can fill in any information that you want. It's there in front of them. So they have the same fields, plus they have an address field, all of those things. But we don't really capture addresses on the general public side. We can, if you need us to, but outside of that information, that's all we can collect.
And I don't know who this question goes towards, but is there, I think basically email and phone number is kind of the big one, right? Do we have the ability to require that? Like, if you went to a forms website, let's just say you're paying for some online from Amazon, or maybe that's the example from any website, right? There's usually fields that have asterisks that you have to fill out, and there's fields that are put stuff in if you don't want, but if you don't, we don't care. Do we have that ability to, if we wanted to say, say we had no database today, say we were starting clean tomorrow, to require certain fields to be filled out versus others?
I couldn't hear that, Mark. I'm sorry. It was breaking up.
Okay, so Mike was asking if we can set required fields to gather information and leave some optional.
The only thing that we can add that is not being required, and I'm speaking strictly online, because pass holders have to be bought in the pro shop. Therefore, the pro shop would be responsible for collecting whatever information they want. On the general public side, which are people that would not go through the lottery, the only other information we could capture is your address, because we already get their email, phone number, and name.
Mike, did that
So are
answer
you
your
required
question?
to fill out your email, your phone number, and your name? Is that required before you can create your profile and finish it?
Yes.
Okay, that answered my question. Thank you.
Yes.
I have a question. I'm thinking about what happens when I go skiing. I buy a pass, I get a barcode that I get, puts on me, and the attendant at the lift scans me, and that sends the information to the server that I showed up, that I'm, and checks me. Is there a way that with the Chelsea system that a barcode reader, that our member numbers could be converted into a barcode, and it would be easier for the pro shop to scan, you stand, you wave your pass, you're scanned in. I think that would be much more efficient than some of the practice that we use now. I mean, that you don't go to that first hole, to the first tee box, until you're scanned in. Is there any kind of an add-on with Chelsea that allows for something like that?
No, they could scan if you had a card, but you'd still have to stop at the desk for them to use the scanner for it to read it.
But they can scan a card though.
Yeah, if you have the membership cards, they just have to send us a sample card so we can read it. And then they can scan your card, which would pop them to the tee sheet where you're at.
Okay. I think that's an efficiency we may want to look at to make it more complete as to who shows up, and to capture that data using the barcode and scanner technology.
Marie, that would still require somebody to go into the shop though, in order to have it read, because we don't have starters, so there's nobody standing on the first tee.
I understand that, but I think it'd be more
Okay.
efficient. Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah.
I think it'd be an efficiency. No, I do understand that.
Okay.
Starters.
Otherwise, what they do is when you come in, they click on your name. If you're a pass holder and you pay $0, it just tenders out at $0 and it turns you red. So visually, they can see their tee sheet just by looking at it. Everybody that's red has been checked in. And then at the end of the night, anybody not checked in, if you go to a lottery, acquires additional points.
And the system would automatically add those points. Teresa, the system would automatically add those points?
Yes, it would do it automatically.
So you don't have to do it manually. Okay.
Yeah.
And so additional hardware for us would be a barcode reader?
Would be and you talk to my IT guy for the particulars about that if you choose to get the scanner.
Okay.
if you guys have any questions, you know, it's a discussion, it's a change. You guys can all give me a call separately. If you need to, I do board meetings all the time. This week's going to be a little sketchy for me. I'm back fully in the office on Friday, but I'm in and out between now and then. And again, the system already has the lottery built in. It's just turned off. So if you do choose to turn it on, then we customize it. We'll go over the design, how it's going to work, who can go through the lottery, what the points will be, those kinds of things. And then once we get it all together, which only takes a few days, and then we just turn that function on. And when you log in as a member, not only do you have review and your booking option, then you're to the left of those, you will have a request option.
All right, I'm not seeing any other hands go up. So,
Mark, it's Brad. I have a quick question, if I may.
sure.
I'm just curious, in transitions that we're contemplating doing now, when you've seen groups go from, I guess the way that we've been doing our bookings all along, was it a rough period in between transitioning people to the new system? I'm expecting that we would get some complaints, but maybe people would get used to it. I'm just curious about your experience with that.
I don't hear from the membership about it. And I really don't hear much from the staff because my clubs have been with me. I mean, our average club is 15 years in. I'm 30 years with Chelsea. My original 3 installs are still with me. And we're 36 years old as a company. So where we are in the world is we were the inventor of the lottery. We're the first vendor to have it. We're the Cadillac in the industry of lottery, capability of rankings and pointing and things like that. So my clubs that transition from first come, first serve have only been maybe less than 20 clubs out of all my inventory. And I never heard from them very much just because they knew the software so well. They didn't need me because if Todd needs somebody, he's going to be calling me. I'm sure that there is a transition, and I would say, Mark, I can get you Jim's number over at Erie and Alex over at Deerwood, because they've transitioned after 15 plus or more years as a first come first serve with us to a lottery in these last 3 years. So they'd be a really good, a similar club as to yourself. They're a lot larger, though. I believe their database is quite a bit larger. But they could tell you what the pitfalls were. None of them have gone off of it at all. So I've got to say that it's working for them.
Okay, I'm sure it just comes down to good communication.
Education and communication are key. No one likes change, and so the more that you can educate them, give them a how-to document, and how things work, when it works, when to have the request in. Like I said, tonight at midnight. So it's every night at midnight if you're trying to draw for, and I can just keep using 7 days out because that's just a common window. So if I want to play next Tuesday, I need to make sure my request is in tonight before midnight for next Tuesday. I can have requests out there for the next 30 days further out than that, but if I want to play next week, midnight's my cutoff for 7 days out.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna, I don't think so. Thank you for your, thank you for your, thank you for.
If you guys have any questions, you can reach out and or shoot me an email. My email's Teresa, and that's TERESA at chelseareservations.com. And I'll answer you via email as well.
All right, thank you, and
All right, guys.
safe travels.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Bye.
All right. So the next thing on it was citizen petitions and comments. First, Mark, is there anyone that called in that wanted to speak or anything in this section?
Nobody has their hand up.
Not seeing anybody's hand up at this time. Oh,
Okay.
There goes a hand. Hang on.
Okay, we do have somebody with their
It's
hand
Matt, St. Louis.
up. It's iPhone 106.
Yes, so thanks. I know obviously you guys are looking at a lot of things and there'll be decisions made on annual pass rates before anyone renews. Quite frankly, after just listening to that, please make sure that you publicize any decisions about staying as is versus lottery before renewal time. I quite frankly, I don't know that I'll come back if it switches to a lottery. So I would just ask that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else or anything else, Matt, that you wanted to also bring up?
No, that was it. Thank you.
Did anyone, Mark, or any other commissioners get other citizens' feedback they want to share before we jump into the kind of unfinished business?
Yeah, I think I shared the emails that I had received. That went out in the packet, so.
Okay. I think we'll jump to unfinished business. Is any new business? We can also put it in the unfinished business if another topic pops up. I did not get any additional ones from the email I sent out requesting them. So, but if there is others, feel free to, we can add them on here. We don't have to just go directly to the way the agenda was laid out. I think that we did talk a little bit about a couple of these. I think I heard that we really want to start with the CIPs and kind of what is the 5-year plan, and then maybe jump in from there to the I'd put together a list of what I thought high value actions were. We can negate them, move on, cross them out, or go down the list or add one. But that would be my proposal. I don't think I saw CIP's like document sent out. If I did, I personally missed it. So I don't know how we discussed this, but I'll turn it over to Mark or Margaret or someone to maybe logistics.
Yeah, Mike, that's on me. I forgot to send out the CIP, proposed CIPs through the next 5 years. I do have it pulled up though. So requested for FYE 26. So that would
Mark,
be
can you share your screen maybe if you have it? That might be the easiest.
Yeah, hold on a second. Oh. All right, well, I'm not having any luck right now. Let me just go through it. So requested for FYE 26 is to renovate the tees and bunkers on holes 1 through 3 and 8. Programmed for 27, FYE 27 is renovate tees and bunkers on holes 12 through 14 and 18. Programmed for FYE 28 are funds to work on bunkers and tees on holes 15 through 17. And then programmed for FYE 29 is $3 million to replace the irrigation system on the course. And programmed for FYE 30 is to install drainage on a section of the second fairway and a section of the third fairway and in the rough south on the 10th fairway. These are perennial wet areas and often get damaged by carts going through them as part of the drainage installation. So the proposed budget or the proposed funds for the next 3 years are $207,000 for FYE 26, FYE 27, and FYE 28. And programmed for 29, again, that's the irrigation system, is $3 million.
And can you just say what was presented for this year, the 25? I think it's already approved, Mark, but just so we're grounded, what's going on this year?
Oh, yeah, I don't, Eric I don't have that in front of me. Eric can let you tell you that.
For the current fiscal year?
Yes.
So the current fiscal year, we completed the project. We
Completed
did bunkers on 5 green, 6 fairway, between 6 and 7 fairway, and the bunkers on 7 green. We strip leveled and regrassed the tee on 6, and we built a new forward tee on 6.
So we're done with those projects now, going into the season? I think that's what I heard.
Correct.
Thank you.
Which came out,
Questions from any of the,
just as I was saying, which came out gorgeous too. Those 2 holes look tremendous now.
any commission members have questions on any of the plans that were presented or this year that occurred or future years?
Those are
I
factored
have
into the,
one. Go ahead, Margaret. I have
yeah,
one.
those are factored into the estimated expenses for like next year. We'll start with just the FY26 one. Those are, right,
Okay.
Mark? Those are already included in the
Yeah,
proposed
that's
budget.
included in the proposed budget. Yes.
W- Is there a fixed schedule for the back of the green? The second green? Let me think. Yeah. Yeah, green number 2 it's underwater every time it rains.
When we do the bunker work up there, we'll have a drain put in there.
So when was that scheduled?
That's the next year.
So FY27?
Correct.
26.
Or 26.
Oh, 26 is this year, starting in July.
Correct.
Okay, so you're gonna fix that in 2025 or early 2026 calendar.
Yeah, there also might be an irrigation leak there that we're going to look into in the spring as well.
Okay, this spring or next spring? This spring?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. All right, thanks.
Right. I'd propose then that we go into talking about, I'll call it high value actions. We can call it whatever we want, but things that we think might be good to have the course do. I had sent a list. I think Mark shot it out on the email. It should have been, I think, the last attachment, Mark, of the email that you had. It was a PDF. There's 2 ones that end in 68, but it was the second one. And this was my cut at reading consultant's report and kind of, things that I thought were high valued. We can again cross all these off the list, but I think it would be good for us to have a discussion as commissions to say, what do we think should be done? And then tactically, who do we think should do it? And really I learned from my professional role outside of this that if you don't put an action list together and a goal plan of when you want to try to get complete by, right, you never get it done because we all have things to do outside of, this 5 o'clock meeting here. Some on the call, work for the town, but some of us are volunteers too. So that's what I typically found. So I think it would be good to agree what are the things we think we should tackle, and then who do we think owns it? We might not have a timeline of events to get it done. That's okay. But if it's something we feel strongly we should do, we should kind of denote that and try to hold ourselves and, whoever owns it accountable. That's where my head's at, but open for discussion. Maybe we'll just go down the list then and we can add to the bottom of the list. There's additional ones. The first one on the list was talking about building a player member database. I think we had discussed it in 2 meetings ago about doing that. Do we feel that we need to do it, I guess, is the first question, and then we can go into maybe some of the sub actions that need to occur. So do we think that this is something we need to go do?
This is Brad. I do think so, and I think it's also going to guide decisions that we make in the future. We're making some big decisions this year. I want to have as much data to follow up on in the future to see if we're making the right decisions or how we can course correct based on data. So I'm all for it.
I would agree. The more complete and accurate the list of pass holders, as well as any of the general be there, the better off we will be. In starting to be able to track people playing, be able to implement any kind of no-show policy, etc.
Any objections for doing it? Maybe we'll pose that as the next question. Okay. Who do we think should lead this effort here? I put some sub actions of what I thought personally might be a tactical plan if we go do it. So it sounds like we do want to do it, but we can talk the tactical actions next. But who do we think should be having the ball and driving this one to closure?
I think that's on the staff at the Pro Shop. I mean, the applications for season passes are submitted there. It wouldn't make any sense to pass it on to somebody else to enter that data.
So Todd, as we had on the list, Mark, is that your thought?
Yes.
Okay. So I put some things in the notes of what I thought might be sub actions. I would think that we want to try to get this done by the start of the golf season, which is 4/1. So those are my cuts at saying what I thought the sub actions would need to be to get us to that end state of having a builded database. I guess open for discussion. Do you think those are the right sub actions? Do we think that those are kind of the right target type dates? Obviously, Mark, Todd works for you. He'll have to kind of logistically figure out how to do this, but do we think that's kind of the right string to try to hold ourselves to as commissions, right? It's a rough string, right? Mark, you can bring that back to Todd, but does everyone thoughts
here?
Yeah, well, Todd's on the call, so he could certainly speak up, but this is a good time of year to be doing that, given the weather we've got and the current playing conditions. I would think this would be a good time to be doing that type of work.
Right. And even in season, we don't have a significant no-show on Saturday and Sunday, which is my mornings. Saturday and Sunday morning. We don't have many no-shows on those days, but we do have a database that we can access, and we have accessed.
Right, so we just need it updated, because I went in and looked, for example, Todd, you can put out a call for people to go in and update their personal information. My phone number was incorrect. My email was a little bit off. So there's clearly people can go in and take care of some of this for you if you put out an email to everybody saying, hey, we're cleaning up our database. Can you please go in and check what you're doing?
Right. Really, what we need is name and email is what we need.
I think you need phone number too, because if we're going to try to do a mass text thing for course closure, I think you need name, email, and phone number. If we want to go to something better than we have today, we're going to need those 3 bits of information, from my perspective.
To do what now?
So name, email, and phone number, minimally, for pass holders.
Why the phone number for what? What about class? What about course closure?
I think one thing that we have opportunity to improve upon is when the course is closed. I know from working at, playing an EB league, right? Like there's always 100 people trying to call the pro shop, right? It's not efficient. If you look at how a lot of places do things, we have an option, I think, to use the Telsey system. Don't know, might take some homework to do, but if a course is closed, having I'll call it a media email blast or a media text blast saying that the course is closed, to all the people that are maybe members, maybe the people that have tea times, maybe, I don't know the best way to do it, right? We could figure that out, but if you don't have the data to be able to do that text type thing, you fail step one. So if you collect that, it opens up the ability to send those types of mass communications out. Though we haven't decided on what the right things to do are, or maybe, you know, whatever it is, but you lose that ability because you don't have the data to do it.
Well, during the week, we have the ability, Eric has the ability to post on Facebook that the course is closed. On the weekend,
I'm sorry, Tom.
Eric is,
He does all that. That's Eric doing that. I think that we can do better. I agree with Mike on this. If we can get the database updated, we have a full accounting of all of the season pass holders, any general folks, and we're maintaining that database to enhance our ability to communicate. Because if we go with, even if you have normal tea times, there must be some functionality in Chelsea that allows you to remind people of their tea time or to do some other things. So we need
Sure.
this data. Plus, we want to be able to track who's playing as they're checking in, when they're checking in, so that we can get this data accurate and track people. This is part of the kind of trying to sort out everything and to see if everybody's hypothesis that the course is doing just fine, and everybody's showing up and everybody's there. This would help us out significantly.
Can I ask, and I don't have just open in front of me, of course, but isn't there a profile option in our
Yeah.
account? And cannot people check for that to see that their information is accurate?
I just said a moment ago, I did go in and
And
my
edit it?
information was not correct.
Pardon me? Okay, so, but you could go and edit and change it, could you
Yep, I
not?
did update it.
Okay, so maybe even a, you know, that word of mouth and try to get out to people, take a look at your profile and is it correct? That would,
Can we just
Be
force a
helpful, I
password
think.
reset so everyone has to go do it? Right? Because like, I'll tell you, half the time I say to go get up, say to something, I just click no thanks. Just because it's easy, right? Like if we force people to reset their password online and now force them to create a profile whenever they create a booking, right? It solves your problem. Then they have to go look at it, right? They could click the button that says, yes, correct. I mean, negligence is always an option for people, but I guarantee most people would go do it, where if you send an email out, people probably wouldn't care. It forces you to register what time you want to make a booking. I think it's, my opinion, is the right way to go, but I'm not the only one on the call.
Yeah, that's probably a Teresa question from Chelsea.
I was going to make the observation that the rest of Parks and Recreation uses their registration system to send out the kinds of notifications that Mike was talking about. And certainly Shanticosset should be no different, because that's the standard of practice. If there's a problem, the message goes out to everyone. They don't have to look at, you know, a website or anything else. They get the message right away.
Yeah, good reference, Elizabeth. Appreciate it. We need the data to be able to do that, but I think you got it. We have a good precedent. It sounds like in other areas. I don't know if we need to spend any more time on this one. It sounds like we agree that we need to do it, and not. It sounds like the ask is figure out how to go get the information all collected so that it is collected and we have everyone's info starting for the beginning of the golf season. What I think I heard, but the second item was the cancellation or fee for 24 hours less than no shows. I think that there was a lot of discussion tonight about that or a lottery system, so I will just open the floor.
So I think the fee piece of it is probably, for at least for season pass holders, sounds like it's off the table for the moment if we're not collecting payment information up front. So, and we're not going to track payment information in the system. She did say during the conversation that There are options based on accumulating points, which I'm assuming can be done with tee times as well as with the lottery, that you reach, her example was 3 no-shows and you're suspended for 2 weeks from playing as a punishment. Or I don't want to say punishment, but as a, it's a punishment. So bad choice of words, but it's the only one I can come up with at the moment. I think we need to explore something like that. Is it 3? Is it 2? Is it 5? 2 weeks is a nice hit, especially if you decide to no show right before a club championship. Because that pretty much takes you out. So, people loyal to the course would expect to be loyal to the course and loyal to the men's club. So I don't know. That's just where we are. No matter which way we go, having that ability, I think some number of tee times. And then the question is, what do you do with the general public who don't show? And perhaps for them, it's the same thing. It's some sort of, a 4-week suspension or something along those lines where they're not allowed to book any tee times, especially if we're capturing names for all the players. But I'm open to any and all ideas. This one is a tough one.
I mean, I think
with members,
over.
with members, if on a weekend, if a member no shows me, the next time I see them, I will tell them, you no showed me, I would appreciate a phone call. It doesn't often happen. And the reason why I think was the no-show figure was overstated was because many of our members, they get out of their car and they walk right to the tee. And we see them and, okay, they're here, great. But they don't check in every person in their group.
So now they'll have
So,
to check
and
in
I
every
don't
person
know,
in their group. We need
and
to
I don't
track
know,
every player. Every player needs to be tracked.
yeah, and I don't know, unless you require a prepay on non-member, I don't know how you have a mechanism to charge a no-show.
Well, I
What
don't
are you
think
gonna
charge them.
do?
We don't have the ability to charge for no-shows. What we have to do, though, we have the ability apparently, is to suspend people from being able to make or
Okay, so
make a
this
tee time or play
is a
golf.
public golf course. This is a public golf course. When I was at a resort golf course in Florida, if somebody no-showed, then we would clock them. We would sanction them. But up here, we're a public golf course. They're Groton, half of them are Groton residents, and the other half are just people that play our golf course. So we're going to suspend them for 2 or 3 weeks?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I'm against it. You guys decide what you want to do, but I'm against
I'm
it.
just throwing it out there I'd like to hear from everybody else. I'm not committed, but I think that's the only recourse we have without collecting forms of payment up front. Marie?
Yeah, I think we don't have to be overly harsh, but if you have the ability to go into the system and suspend them from making another tee time, that would be an alert, certainly so I wouldn't suspend them from playing the course, but maybe from not having the ability to make tee times for the next week or something. I mean, I don't want to be overly harsh, but I also want to let them know that they haven't, and they're not playing fair. Also, I really do think that barcode system where we could wave our number, convert it into a barcode, a QR code, whatever. That could help really give a more accurate accounting of who's here, and then also just, by policy, you do need to check in. A big sign at the first tee box, check in. All
That's
players
every
must
golf
check in.
course.
I think a little bit more could be done to get behavior changed.
So human behavior is one of the toughest things to change, but I think we could move the needle on getting people to check in, at least through the men's and women's clubs. Leadership in those two clubs could send the message that it's imperative that people check in, and the barcode system definitely would help.
Yes.
I'll be
And,
happy to alert the women to that. Absolutely.
but to everybody's point, I also don't want to be overly punitive, but I would like to see data on this, so that we would know by next year, do we really have an issue here with no-shows? How big is it? So again, I don't want to be overly punitive, but I would like to know that data. But I think we should do something.
And if there's not a problem, then it shouldn't be an issue with weekends or anytime. If Todd, there isn't a problem, then we can prove it.
I will track it.
Yeah. So, but is it tracked in the system? Because I'm a big fan of metrics, right? If you guys take it in your notebook, that's not a way to track it. Like, do
No,
we have a way to capture the Chelsea system? Because we need data to drive our decisions.
Yeah, I was gonna say, rather than reinvent, right? What works in other places, can we benchmark a few courses and find out what they do? Like, think of Lake of Isles, right? You got, I don't know, what is it, $150 a round? They gotta have some level of accountability if a whole group doesn't show up.
oh, they
Well,
charge.
just read the pro at Norwich. He figured it all out. He's got a whole system and he doesn't use Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just think we gotta get this behind us and know, so primetime tee times are not open and we don't lose revenue. That's all.
It almost sounds like to me we don't know or agree upon what the penalty will be tonight. Maybe that's an okay thing. It almost sounds like to me we should agree upon, do we think that everyone needs to go check in at the beginning of a round? Do we make sure that they either book online, or if they're booked at the clubhouse, that the correct type of information is taken down for the booking? Maybe name, maybe member number, whatever it is. I think to me those are things we should agree upon as policy going forward. And then do we have the ability to track who didn't show up? We can make a decision maybe later on the best way to handle the no-show ups, even if it's mid-year. You could implement a XYZ penalty, but I think you need to be able to start doing those first things. So thoughts?
I agree, Mike.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we need to start it sooner rather than later. The idea of, making a change mid-season just doesn't make any sense to me. I think we need to start doing, as soon as we get the system in place and we've communicated what we're doing, then we start to roll it out right at the beginning of the season.
Is there an agreement? I mean, on what people thought? Go, Marie.
I was going to say to Mark, is there, I don't want to say public works, I'm not sure who makes signage for the town, but could, a large sign be created to put right up on the fence, or a couple places as you walk towards the pro shop, and also at the first tee before you go on the first tee, right where the putting green is, a practice green. That's something that's clearly written and noticeable.
Yeah,
An
I mean,
official
we can certainly put up more signs. Um, Eric thinks I love signs. I actually hate signs because people don't. I think it's changing the culture in the pro shop and communicating with the season pass holders that this is the new expectation.
Right, and maybe for a period of time to help Todd out, do we have some little bit of extra staffing that, holds people accountable for a number of months, and then, okay, people know that's the process now. You come in, you check in, this is what you do. We don't make extra work. We just change the process and change people's mindset on how they prepare to play there.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we went to a barcode reader and, somebody didn't come in to check in, that barcode reader wouldn't capture them. And at the end of the day, they would
Yep.
appear to be a no-show.
Right. And then we figure out, okay, what's the, quote unquote penalty for that? Worst case, it's a discussion, that, yeah, you can't do that. The next time you're gonna get charged for the tea time.
Well, if
Well,
there
there's no
really are
charging.
that few instances where that happens, then it shouldn't be a lot of effort to
Yeah.
adjudicate each one of those. Okay, so we contact a person in the group. We had one barcode wasn't scanned from your foursome. Did they play or not? If it's not a lot of them, I don't see this as being a huge thing to investigate.
So it sounds like we have the ability to use the system. Someone makes a tea time, and I guess I'm asking Todd or Eric. 4 people make a tea time, 4 individual people, they're playing together, they meet up Saturday, 8 a.m. They play, 3 of them check in, 1 of them doesn't. It sounds like the system has the ability to understand who checked in and didn't versus the tea time making. Is that a good assumption?
That would be, sounds like it.
It's not unusual for a foursome to show up and say, Joe couldn't make it because his wife is sick. I mean, that's not an issue.
I guess my question is more on not the why someone didn't make it. The system can denote you had 4 individual people playing and only 3 of them checked in. The system can tell you that from a data metric standpoint. That's my question. So if I wanted to know that if that occurred on April 1st and now it's June 1st and I wanted to look at what occurred on April 1st, I can go back in the system and not someone's brain. Is that correct?
Mike, I'm pretty sure you can pull up tee sheets from past days. But I can check with Teresa on that.
And can your staff in the clubhouse see that though? Like, so if I made a tea time and I missed 2 of my tea times and I had another tea time next week, and then they were looking at mine, can they see that I missed tea times prior? Like, is that an obvious thing? I don't know what the interface GUI user interface looks like on them. Can you tell? Is that an easy thing, or is that like you got to have a master's degree and run a metric on the background?
There really aren't a lot of no-shows at our club. I don't know.
So then it's not a problem to do this.
Yeah, so I guess I'm gonna call someone's bluff because the report.
Okay, so when somebody doesn't show up for a tea time, then my staff will tell them, you didn't show up. Don't do that again. You cost us money. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, fine.
So I'm going to call bluff here. I'm sorry. I'm going to be extremely strict about it. Almost everyone I talked to from public feedback said that they couldn't get tea times and there was a lot of no-shows with people showing up, and they got out because people didn't show up. When I look at the data metrics, it said 79,000 tea times were made last year and like 39 or 40,000 rounds played. That to me is a 50% failure rate. Astronomical, right? Think about it. If your car failed 50% of the time, you wouldn't be able to get to work. So to me, that's unacceptable. I'm going to be extremely stern. I want data points. As the commission chair and as taxpayer, want data points. We need data points. I don't believe. I'm angry and I'm letting you know.
Those numbers that you're referring to, I I don't know what page it's on. I'm not going to be able to find it right now, but there was a category that it was like walk on or something, and those weren't accounted for. They're not no shows. Those are tee times that were just made by the pro shop on the POS system without any other connection. Like Joe calls up and wants a foursome. All right, what time do you want, Joe? And the guy behind the counter puts Joe in at his time. So those 4 slots ended up into that big category, which I can't remember off the top of my head, but I want to say it was over 30,000 times. So those aren't all no shows. They're just
Maybe we don't-
manually entered tee times. So to say that we had 40,000 no shows, that's impossible.
So how do we correct the data entry so that we can get good metrics to show what our true no-show rate is then? Because I'm not convinced that it is or isn't a problem. And I think what I heard people is people are hesitant to implement something because we don't know if it's a problem. And, you know, there was good suggestions of, hey, if you know, you're not prevented from playing the course, but you can not book for 2 weeks as punishment. But do we need that? I don't know. Is that a problem? I don't know. We need to be able to start collecting data to tell that, right? And the systems need to be able to do that for us. I'm glad that like you and the team are saying, hey, you know, you missed this, and that's good. That's a good human interaction and feedback from one person to one person. But I don't think we can make decisions as a commission if we don't know what the no-show rate is. And I'm a numbers guy. That's how I do, right? I need to be able to see all the numbers. And quite frankly, I'm not seeing it. What I just heard is that even the people that walked on, we put them in this category, but then we ran the metrics, it didn't give me good data. Like garbage in, garbage out. We need to clean this up and figure out how to do it fast. I'll pipe down.
Well, before COVID, we were running at like 32,000 rounds per year. And since COVID, we've been running at like 42,000 rounds per year. That's really good.
What's the capacity of the course?
The capacity.
Yeah, the number of available tee times.
Well, we're fairly at capacity.
No, what's the total
Since
number of
COVID,
available tee times in a year?
In a year?
Are
I'll
you
get
asking
that to you,
including weather
Margaret.
days or not weather days? And I think the number 200 and I'm going to think 60 or something came up in the report. I think I've heard that, but Todd, I'll defer to you. But I think you can't do 365 because we have so much weather.
Yeah.
No, it's not the number of days, the total number of tee times that are available.
I'll get that to you,
So-
Margaret.
Okay.
Well, how many tee times are available during the day?
Six tee times per hour. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what, 11? 66. I mean, there are 6 tee times per hour, and there are 11 tee times. There are 11 tee times per day.
So 60 times 11 times
4?
200 and
Yeah,
210,
yeah, about that.
210 days?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Times 4.
Shoot. All right. So 60 times 11 times 2, 10 times 4. Oh, that can't be right. 60 times 11 times 210 times 4. No, that can't be right.
No, it's not it's 60 times. No. 60 is the total number per day. So skip
Oh,
to times
okay.
11.
Okay. So
Yes, that's
60.
right.
Oh, that can't be right either.
It's about 260 rounds a day, or tee times a day.
Yep.
Actual tee slots,
Okay.
individual tee time slots.
So that would be 54,600 for 210 days.
Okay. And then we got the shotguns in the winter. Yeah, maybe another 20%. So about we're not far off with the 70,000 number of available tee times. Okay, thank you.
All right. Is there anything we decided upon on this action for bookings, cancellations, anything that is a summary from the meeting minutes and who's doing what?
I was under the impression that Todd was going to be doing more of the data collection.
Mhm.
I assume using the Chelsea system, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we can skip number 3.
Okay. We'll skip it. Do we think that that's something that should occur this year or kind of like leave it off the table for now?
Mark, is there still a plan for the RFP?
I think knowing the process, the idea of introducing a new system this year
Mhm.
would be, I would not advise it. I think if we utilize Chelsea to a higher capacity, that will address, I think, a number of issues that have been identified. The fact that we're not capturing a lot of the people that are playing, which we really need to be doing. And it certainly wouldn't hurt to look, but I'm doing that right now and making a plan to make some kind of switch in the spring. I just would advise against it.
Yep.
Do you think that there should be a Chelsea lunch and learn session sometime in the next quarter?
Yeah, I mean, I think it certainly couldn't hurt. I think she did a pretty decent job tonight explaining some of the functionality of Chelsea, and we could certainly, dig a little deeper. If it's not broken, don't fix it. And maybe Chelsea can address all of the things that have been identified.
So if there is interest, my recommendation would be is that it's an on-site meeting, like you physically show, they see the software we have, they bring their laptop, they can show you what add-ons can be done. And I think if you're going to do it, I think you need to be face-to-face. You need to be viewing your physical systems rather than a sales pitch. But that's my 2 cents if you guys decide to go forward.
Okay.
Mike, I'd suggest for a meeting like that, you might want to consider the computer room at 555 because it has lots of places as well as a large screen to project onto for a demo.
Good suggestion. I don't know who would take that on, but it's a good suggestion of a good venue. Thanks. Number 4, I don't know if something on the table, off table, thoughts on if Mark should pursue this or someone else.
I think, Mark, you're still waiting for the numbers from the town.
Yeah, there are still numbers that we are waiting for that have to do with personnel expenses.
Is the golf course planning to add another head, groundskeeper for the 26 budget?
It was included in the budget that's been presented to the town manager and reviewed by the town manager. But that
Okay.
wouldn't take place until after July 1st.
Has the golf course thought about using more of a Norwich golf club model, which is spending the money with outside groundskeepers? Because, you know, we know that full-time groundskeepers at Shinnecock are way over $100,000 a year with benefits. We can get a lot by outsourcing.
Jim, I don't think that's a decision that's going to be made immediately and a practice that's going to change in the next 6 months.
Well, if you get approval for the head, then it's kind of a done deal, isn't it?
Oh, I see. You're referring to that one person
Yeah,
versus,
yeah.
well, we operate in a union environment, and that's a collaborative effort between the union and administration. So there are parameters that we have to work within, and I'm not sure that that's something we can do within the current boundaries that we have.
But we use temporary help now. Why don't we just expand temporary help?
Oh, we'd love to if we could get it.
Well, did we try to get it?
Absolutely, we try every year. We try to
Well,
get seasonals
we did it.
we try to get seasonals every year to help.
Well, why don't we just get more seasonals instead of hiring a new full-time employee?
Can't even hire.
Well, it's
seasonal.
not as easy as just snapping your fingers and say, come to Shinnecock. I mean, we don't get the applicants.
But
And
have we tried? I mean, the worst thing is to hire a $120,000 a year person to be a
Jim,
ground.
we try every year, Jim.
Well,
If we don't
then
get someone to
couldn't
apply,
why couldn't we just hire a landscape company that does the sourcing of the labor for us?
again, that goes back to the union and the parameters that we have to work within.
Well, that sounds like we're letting the union control our cost structure. Is that really what we want at Shinnecock? I don't understand why we don't have you really talked to the town manager about maybe making a shift away from full-time to more of an outsourced arrangement because of the cost involved? I mean, we have a cost problem. Why would we want to add to it? I don't understand that.
I think once the presentation is made, that may spark some conversation. I'm not sure.
Well, no, I don't think, what I'm recommending is we do not pursue another full-time head.
Right.
Just don't do it. Just take it out of the budget. We went through the last several years with 4 full-time groundskeepers. Why would we want another one? At
That was the record.
$120,000 a head. Why would we do that to ourselves? I don't understand that.
Probably to improve the quality of our product on the golf course.
Right, I understand that, but we still don't know if a full-time union groundskeeper is any less or more efficient or better at their job than people that are outside the union. No one
But
has.
this is a union shop. So anybody that's brought on is union. It's not outside.
Then let's not.
That's not
hire any
not
more
something you
union.
can do.
We outsource projects all the time, Todd. What you guys are doing is you're telling me.
Okay, but
why
this
we
is
can't do something.
regular maintenance you're talking about.
Right.
And you can't get around the fact that this is a union shop.
Todd, I understand a lot about union shops. Does the town manager know we have a cost problem, Mark?
I'm not sure.
Does he know that with the small amount utilities, that 75% of the cost of the golf course is labor and benefits and a small amount of electricity and water and whatever, and it leaves hardly anything left over because of the cost structure?
Yeah, the town manager, I'm sure, is well aware of the budget. He looks at it after it's submitted to him. The town council sees the budget and the RTM sees the budget.
No, but I'm not sure they know that we have a cost problem at Shinnecock that's only going to get worse if we hire a fifth groundskeeper. One we have to pay all year. By the way, there's one question I do have. Do those groundskeepers, those full-time groundskeepers, those 4, do they come into work all winter?
Yes.
Every day?
Yeah.
And I still haven't got an explanation of what they do exactly in the January, February, end of December months. What are they doing there? Are there limitations? Is the golf course being disadvantaged because of the union structure?
I'll let Eric answer the question on what they're doing.
So yeah, they work year round. You know, any day like today is 40 something degrees. We had snow. They had to shovel some sidewalks this morning. We're working on equipment in the shop all winter long, getting it ready for the following season. We're out doing tree work, brush cutting. We have to work on all of our supplies. We sand and paint all the ball washers, benches, tee markers, hazard stakes every off season. You know, the weather's kind of mild here, so they're outside doing stuff almost all winter.
Huh, okay. All right. I just recommend that we don't hire another full-timer. There has to be something else to be done. We ought to just hold the line at 4. Okay? We just cannot afford another full-time, and I'm actually surprised the golf course management, knowing we have a cost problem, is willing to just hire another one at $120,000 a year with benefits without trying some other arrangement. I haven't heard anything other than Todd saying it's a union shop. Okay? I think we ought
Mark,
to.
do you think it would be a reasonable ask, or do you think it's an unreasonable thing to achieve to understand if there is a higher cost in terms of fringe benefits, wages, whatever have you, because we have a union shop? Do you think that's something that you would be able to determine this year? It's to a false or true and what that number is. You think that's an achievable item as a start? Let me ask that.
Well, I think that was illustrated in the presentation, that the consultant has made a couple of times. I mean, he's pointed out where our benefit level is and, you know, where the industry standard is.
I'd
So
like to
do you
make a
think it's
comment, if I
reasonable-
may. I've served, I continue to serve on the Groton Public Library Board for many years, chair, vice chair, you name it. And over the years, what I've seen is that, that in terms of hiring staff in a general sense, there's various levels of talent, library support staff, professional librarians, and it's all about having a really clear job description as to how you can target the work to the level of expertise required, to the amount of hours. The library hires many part-time paraprofessional people. They hire, I mean, if we look at other structures in the town, and libraries being an example, there's a long history of hiring the talent and the need and the amount and the level of expertise for the job. I want to share that. Union or non-union. And again, work that is outsourced tends to be work that cannot be done through job descriptions that align with a job description. It's
So
not
that
in the
means,
job
Marie,
description of the
that
position,
in the
then,
library, there is a mix of union and non-union labor?
yes, the Sunday people are part-time. Even the library is open on Sunday for 5 hours during the academic year. The majority of those people are not union people that staff it. They're talented people, but they are not hired as full-time people.
Okay, Mark, so why aren't we doing that at Shinnecock? Why is
aren't we-
Todd saying it's a union shop and we have no alternative?
Because the employees that we hire are full-time employees.
Yeah, but we don't have any non-union employees that are working next to union employees at Shinnecock. Why not? Why are we
Any
just?
seasonal help we get is non-union.
Well, then why don't we just hire more seasonal help?
We've had trouble hiring seasonal help. We haven't been able to secure people through the interview process. And like this last year, I had one seasonal.
Well, why don't we bring in a landscaping company?
You can't do that.
Well, how do you know you can't do that, Eric? Have you asked?
You already heard the answer. That it's a union shop with the town. So you can't just hire a bunch of contractors to come in and mow the grass.
The library does it. I
We
don't
have
understand how
part-time-
why you guys are so bent on hiring another union employee when we know we have a cost problem. I'm not going to say anything more about it. I don't think we're in a position to hire one. And that's all I have to say about it. I suppose it's your call in the end, Mark, but I just don't think that's responsible financial management of the golf course. Especially when we know that Norwich has much better arrangements, okay, when they're outsourcing. I know they're more efficient than
I
paying.
think we'll move to the next topic here, right? I think we're kind of,
Yeah.
I think we need to
Drain
kind of
here.
move on.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd recommend you do, Mark, is if you can, in the next year's budget, I think it would be good to put a line item in where I ask for the town for the delta in what we think fringe benefits are for the people for the golf course. So, you know how we put CIPs in, I think you should put a budget line item in for employees or whatever you want to call it. And I think that should be a line going into the budget for next year. That would be my request. I don't know if that's an option to do, but that would be my request or recommendation for next year.
Okay.
And keep in mind, Mark, we are spending town money in the end. Okay, these are town employees. Okay, they're funded right now by the golf course, but these employees have pensions that go on for decades. Okay,
And you can use, Mark, you can use the a good case for doing that by we kept the resident rate in passes, and this is one of the things we feel that keeping the resident rate we need to put in place to keep the resident rate in place. I think it's a good tie for you to say why we're doing it.
All right. Mike, just to let you know, there is a regularly scheduled GAB meeting scheduled to begin at 7.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't think there was much left. There was a website item on here. I don't know if anyone wanted to talk to it or something we wanted to do or no.
we're in the process of hiring a community outreach coordinator. And I think once we get that person, and part of their skill requirement is, would include being able to make some changes to the website.
Okay. I think the next time on the list was the true priority needs. So we talked about the CIPs earlier. My only feedback, and others can lay it in maybe from the priority CIPs, I was fine with it. The only thing I thought that wasn't layered in there very well, from my opinion, was the irrigation system. When I looked at the numbers, to go do the irrigation system, you know, the $3 million to go do it. My personal feeling when I delve into it more is that I think we need a better study or a better dive or phase process to it. Where my head's going is I heard that, you know, we had some ones fail on some holes already, and that caused those holes to not be as nice as they could. I think we really should figure out how to phase that irrigation system in before 29 or whatever year it was. When I mean phase it in, I mean where my head would be going phasing is, you may say maybe it's 6 holes, maybe it's 9 holes, maybe you do the heads and the control modules for those holes. And that, you know, I think I did a quick thing where if you did holes 1 to 9, that's about $800K to go do the control modules and the sprinkler heads and the lines. You could go do all that. That's a risk mitigation for failure. If your pumps if the pumps are ready and available to buy, why would you not just let them fail? Can there be a thing where we can run a temp cross connect between pump stations, keep them going if they fail, right? That's a $1 million expense that you could kick down to 30. Do all your bunkers ahead of time. I think we need to start thinking like that from a risk mitigation standpoint. Yes, if we had unlimited funds, we do everything right away. But I think maybe doing some irrigation before the other bunkers is probably good. Someone mentioned if the irrigation fails, all that work you just did, you lost. But to me, that's an item that I think needs to be looked at. But I'll let anyone else chime in.
So I think that's just my input on this. First off, technology changes with irrigation, and if you layer it in over several years, you run the risk of having to redo early because the technology doesn't match where you are, and some of the work that's kind of phased in. If we're going to phase it in, it's still $3 million. If we phase it in over 6 years, that's $500,000 a year that we have to come up with in order to be able to support a phase in. Otherwise, we're looking at doing this over 30 years or less, or I mean, excuse me, or more, because of the limited amount of buffer we're going to be bringing in terms of extra every year to put into the savings to be able to support these projects. So I can't see any way that we do it that way. We know that at the current rates that we're not going to be able to collect the money that we need in order to be able to do that in any kind of reasonable time frame. And you start looking at this year's numbers, we're at risk of coming in at 0 and potentially even going into the red at this point. So we need to be really careful and think this one through and take a look not just at our expenses, but we do at some point in the future we'll have to address some revenue issues. You can't, I mean, it's $3 million, you phase it in, 200,000, that's 15 years. And then you're not doing any other work on the course at our current plan of only having $200,000 a year saved to do CIP projects on the course. Just my observation. And I'm not an expert on irrigation systems. So I'm not. On that note, I would love a break before the next meeting because I've been sitting in this chair since 7 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, so I'm good to wrap up. Anyone else, any other comments? I don't think we really got to solid actions personally tonight. I think we had a good discussion, but I would hope that, you know, Mark, you or the GAB takes back some of these actions, makes a solid plan. I don't personally walking away, I didn't feel, hey, this action, this person, this date, I didn't get that out of it. And to me, as a prior program manager, that's how I've done business before, and it's worked really well. So that's my takeaway. Anyone have any last minute things before maybe we call this meeting to closure? The only thing I had, Margaret, is for the 28th presentation, I think, we should put together a couple slides from these meetings, actions,
Yep.
rate structure. Is that something that you're willing to take on to prepare for the town council meeting, or do you need any help from our
Yeah, I
commission?
started pulling some because I will be out of town for the meeting, so I'll have to join in remotely for that. But yes, I will and I think Mark probably has as well. So
Okay, if you need anything from any of our commissions, just feel free to reach out, but we'll assume that you have a nice packet that you're putting together for it.
Yep.
Anyone before we, I guess I'll make a motion to close. Before I do that, anyone have anything they want to bring up? I'll make a motion to close this special meeting here and adjourn.
Second.
in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
All right, thank you, everybody, for your time. And Gab, we'll see you back in here in 6 minutes.